Okay, so it's been a little while since I made a YouTube video, and I want to talk to you guys about what's been going on, and I want to keep it real because this is not a channel just about finance stuff, personal finance, investing, or car stuff, or real estate. It really just is whatever's going on in my life, and there are a few things right now that I think that are a little bit interesting that I thought I'd make a video about and share with you guys my experience. So among other things, this year overall has not been great so far. I always talk to people that I know that are close to me that this year has been full of L's, unfortunately, and sometimes you just have to take them, and next year it will just be a lot better. There's gonna be times where things are just out of your control and you can't always manage everything yourself, and so sometimes the cookie crumbles that way and it ain't so great for me right now. The first thing I'll talk to you guys about real quick is my car situation has been going on. So I know some of you guys subscribe to my channel because it's a Terminator Cobra and it's all fun and good, and I was super excited when I got the car. Big mistake, okay? So besides my condo this year, buying this car has probably been my biggest mistake so far this year. And instead of being able to save the money needed to actually pay off the different loans required for the condo purchase, I've actually been having to pour money into the car that I recently bought, which is this '03 Cobra. And it is a fun car when I'm able to drive it, but apparently I didn't learn my lessons from all the other cars that I bought. If you guys haven't seen that video about, there's a fly in here. If you guys haven't seen that video about the 24 different cars that I've owned by age 24 that I am now, definitely check that one out. It's like my longest video, but it goes into depth about all the different cars that I've had in the past, many of which were money pits. And again, apparently I didn't learn my lesson because here we are today with this '03 Cobra that needs so much work. And I've been just chasing around issues left and right with this thing. And it's getting to the point where I do need to probably work on selling it soon. So unfortunate as that is, I need to get these things fixed so I can put it on the market and get rid of this thing, because it's just a money pit that I don't have the time to deal with right now, among so many other problems I have to deal with, whether it's at work or with my unit or with real estate or my condo or this house or anything. So when I bought the car, it wasn't in perfect condition, and what I did was restore a lot of the things back to the factory settings, and so returning the interior to what it was like when it was stock and fixing a lot of things that the previous owner just didn't take care of. One of the things that I did want to do that was aftermarket and not from the factory was change the color of the car. And at the time I thought it was a great idea, and apparently I was not so smart. I never wrapped a car before, and so what I thought I would do is take it to someone to get the car wrapped. And so I found a place locally here in Central Texas to wrap the car and pay the guy to wrap the car, as well as buy the material and get it done in a certain amount of time. Long story short, the guy defrauded me out of, I think, $2,500, maybe $3,000, something like that. So it's not a small sum of money. In the grand scheme of things in my life, it's probably gonna be nothing. But right now, it's a big L because I need the money to pay off other things, and I don't have the time to be dealing with a lawsuit right now. But unfortunately, the reality of it is this guy's not willing to give me a refund, and the only option for me right now is honestly to go to court. So the whole backstory is that I found this guy on Google. He had a couple good reviews. I was like, okay, he's probably not gonna charge a whole lot compared to other shops here in the area. And I thought I'd give it a try and let this guy wrap my car, and hopefully it would turn out pretty good. I picked Competition Orange as the color to wrap the car, which is an original factory color, although it's not the one on this car. I decided it would be a pretty good color for it to turn out, and hopefully he'd be able to do a good job. So the total cost, I think, initially to wrapping the car was about $2,500 to $3,000. So let's just call it $2,500. Basically, when I first saw the guy, I had to pay him half that amount up front. So I believe it was like $1,250 or $1,200, something like that I sent to him over Venmo. That was so he could purchase the materials and book me an appointment so I could bring the car in at a later date. I then brought my car in on a later date, and the guy asked me if I could pay him the other half up front instead of on the back end when I pick up my car, because he needed the money and he was in some tight financial situation. So I understand that because I've this year been in a lot of tight financial situations. So I was like, okay, I'll pay you up front because I trust you that you're gonna get my car done, but I'm not gonna do any more favors. That was mistake number one. Never pay somebody for a job before it's finished, right? So you don't pay someone to renovate your house up front before they finish their job, because they can sit on the money and not do anything. Obviously the recourse for this is that you can take them to court, but that's a whole nother 9 yards you don't wanna deal with. And the better way of going about it is to split the money, at least do maximum 50% up front, and then pay incrementally from when the job's finished. That's pretty standard with most contractors and most work that's done, that when you get your car fixed especially, you don't pay them until the job is done. So big mistake number one, paid him up front, and so I was out all the money from the get-go. Another red flag that I really should have noticed from the get-go was that when I first dropped off the car with him, I asked him if he could wrap the mirrors as well, because for whatever reason, the previous owner painted the mirrors black, even though the Terminator Cobra mirrors are the same color code as the actual car. So I was like, well, when you wrap the car, I want the mirrors to match the rest of the car. There's a small piece on the mirror that connects the actual mirror to the housing of the vehicle. So I guess the door panel, it's like a little triangle piece. And I wasn't sure if that part needed to be wrapped, and he wasn't either. And so what he did when I was standing there was take a piece of sandpaper and sand down the little triangle just a little bit. And obviously it permanently damaged it because you have to now paint it if it's now sanded down. And that part obviously did not need to be wrapped because it's supposed to be black from the factory. He was like, oh, don't worry about it, I'll just wrap that later. Pretty uncomfy, but I was like, okay, he's gonna get this done, it's gonna be all good. I was initially told 4 to 5 days from the beginning that this car would be done. And understandably, I was pretty excited to get the car back because it was finally gonna get wrapped, and it's gonna be my favorite color, it's gonna be all good. 2 weeks goes by, and the guy's not very responsive to me. And eventually I end up getting to the point where I'm asking when my car is gonna get done and if I can come pick it up because it's been much longer than I expected, and I don't have another car because I sold my other car to buy this one. And then what happens is that he lets me know that he needs more wrap to actually finish the car. So the car's not done, it's been 2 weeks, and he's saying he needs more material because whatever the case is, you know, the material is hard to work with, the car was hard to work with. That's a common complaint that he had, was that the car's paint was horrible. The car's paint was just fine. It's probably one of the cleanest cars he's ever worked on. He's probably not gonna work on another car again, but the paint was perfectly fine. No clear coat failure. It had just been detailed by me, and I take care of my stuff unlike this guy, so I don't know what he's talking about. Your paint wasn't good. Anyhow, he asked me to pay him another $160 over Venmo to buy more material, and that he would just do it for free and wrap the rest of the car for free, even though that's what I initially paid him to do, was to complete the entire job. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna pay you this last amount, and you're gonna order the wrap, and you're gonna get this done. So basically this goes on for a little bit, the car's finally done, and I come and pick it up, and as soon as I walk up to the car, I immediately realize some things are not right. Sometimes in life, you realize at that moment that you fucked up, and this was one of them. I walked up to the car and I realized this looks worse than an elementary school arts and crafts project. It was like this guy was practicing how to wrap a car on my car, except that no attention to detail whatsoever, no craftsmanship, using maybe like kitchen scissors to actually cut the wrap. It looked absolutely awful. Every single panel had defects on it. It wasn't even sticking to the car. There was bubbling, peeling everywhere. There were holes in the wrap. You name it. If there's something wrong with a wrap job that can possibly be wrong, it was on my car. As you can imagine, when I first picked it up, I was finally excited to actually get my car. So when I was there, I wasn't nitpicking about all the problems, and I just picked up the car and I went home and then finally inspected it more myself then. Upon that further inspection, I noticed all the things I just talked about, and pretty much every single panel had some sort of issue. And actually when I was driving it back, the car looked different once I finally got to where I was going, because the wrap was peeling off the car during that time. It's almost like the wrap was about to fly off the car because it wasn't attached correctly. One thing I forgot to mention is actually that when I did pick up the car, I noticed that the rear taillight strip was broken. Hard to do in one take out here. Okay, get some pre-workout in me. That shit is nice. So if you guys out there have had an 0304 Terminator Cobra with the taillight strip that goes in the trunk spoiler for specifically the 03 to 04 Cobras, that's a very common thing to break, and actually something that I just replaced in the car. So I was pretty upset with him that he had just broken that thing that I actually just replaced. And so I Venmo requested him for the amount to pay for a new one because I needed to replace it again in order to pass inspection, because you have to have your brake lights working. And of course he refused to pay for that as well. I want to say about a week goes by that the guy finally gets the extra material to get the wrap done, and I go back to his place of business and ask him for a refund. I tell him up front what's going on. The wrap looks absolutely awful. This is not what I paid you to do. If I wanted it to turn out like this, I would have done it myself, or better yet, not wrapped it in the first place, because literally it looked worse than when I dropped off the car with him. Not to mention that it actually wasn't even finished. And that's not even to mention the damage to the car. So we're talking about, remember that little triangle piece on the fender above where the window's at, for where the mirror connects to the car? That was sanded down. You literally cannot buy an 0304 Cobra side mirror these days just because of how expensive it is, and they don't produce them anymore. I mean, we're talking about the panels were attached incorrectly, the trunk light thing was broken, there were all kinds of problems. And so, honestly, I probably would have let it go if you would just refund me a little bit of the money for the extra wrap that wasn't even used, that's sitting in his garage. as well as replacing the taillight for me that he broke, as well as paying for the mirror that was also damaged by him. So had he done those things, which was maybe a few $100s, maybe $1,000, I would have been okay with the sunk cost of having the 2 weeks of my time lost, of Ubering around, not having my car, and having this guy wrap my car and having it be a total failure. I would have been okay with that. But this man did not want to play ball. And so if you want to do this the hard way, let's do it the hard way. So it's been a little while since I've been to court. Honestly, I'm sure no one out there wants to deal with a lawsuit, going to court, all this, but this guy's leaving me no option. And so even after sending a formal demand letter for a refund, basically I sent it through the mail with a tracking number, so I have that evidence to show the court that I did request a refund through a recourse of a formal demand letter. And so I was trying to avoid having to go to court for this, but he still did not want to comply. And so this is the last resort. Once again, it's not a small sum of money. It's not like a couple $100 or even $100 that I spent on this wrap to get it done. This is a significant sum, and basically this guy's walking away with my money, and I'm left with zero product, well, a failed product that I had to remove myself, and other damage that I had to fix on the car as a result of his work. Now, filing the actual lawsuit in the small claims court is a little bit of a process, and it depends on obviously where you live and the type of circumstances of the case that you're opening. So I'm certainly not a lawyer, nor am I gonna try to give you guys any advice on how to do these types of things, but small claims court is definitely an option, probably wherever you live, just because it's the type of thing where you don't have to have an attorney, you can represent yourself, and usually it's like a Judge Judy type of situation where you can go to court, just talk through the judge with what's going on, and you and the other person work it out based off of the adjudication by the judges there. I definitely don't want this channel to be all about mistakes and all the things that go wrong in my life, although there are plenty. I think it's a false reality to expect that everyone's life is perfect, especially on YouTube or social media or anywhere. Once again, I just want to keep it real with you guys. This is what's going on in my life right now, and it's not all sunshine and rainbows and all that good shit. A lot of times there are problems you have to deal with and things that you don't want to deal with, and unfortunately for me, this year has been more of that than I would have liked. But looking on the good side of this, I do think that I have a pretty strong case. I don't think there is a case against what I have to say based off of the evidence through literally the pictures that I have of the wrap job as well as the damage that was done to my car. So I'm pretty confident that this will turn out okay in my favor. But that being said, if there's any lesson for you guys out there to learn from my mistakes, it's definitely to not trust people too much. This wrap job situation is very specific to what I did and the type of car that I have and what I was hoping to do. But in any situation in life, when you're working with someone else that you've never worked with before, even if they have great reviews, just take the proper precautions and don't trust people too much. There's no need to be handing out favors because it's not a charity, especially when you're working with another business. You need to be protected yourself as a customer. I'll definitely keep you guys updated with the status of this one and what the outcome is, and I'll work on trying to crank out more content for you guys. Hopefully stuff that's more positive and good things that are going on in my life, or just investing tips, personal finance stuff, and things that I've found that have worked for me. As always, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully I'll see you guys soon with some better news.